What if I told you that money is not your enemy, but one of God's greatest tools? What if the struggle you call lack is not a test of faith, but a misunderstanding of divine law? For generations, people were taught that holiness means poverty and that wealth is dangerous. But that is not what ancient wisdom teaches. Tonight, we uncover the secrets about money and God that were never taught to you, because once you understand them, you can never live small again. For generations, one of the most dangerous misunderstandings has been passed quietly from mouth to mouth, that money is evil, corrupt, unholy, or opposed to spiritual life. This belief has shaped fear, guilt, and limitation in millions of hearts. But the truth is far more confronting and far more liberating. Money itself has no morality. It does not think. It does not tempt. It does not corrupt. Money is energy, a form of stored human effort, trust, time, creativity, and value. Like fire, it can warm a home or burn it down. The fire is not the problem. The one who wields it is. Money does not change who you are. It reveals who you are. If generosity lives in you, money amplifies generosity. If fear lives in you, money amplifies fear. If greed lives in you, money magnifies greed. If wisdom lives in you, money becomes a tool for healing, building, and blessing. The idea that money itself is evil has caused spiritually sincere people to subconsciously reject abundance. They pray for provision while fearing the very instrument through which provision flows. They desire stability, but feel guilty imagining wealth. This inner contradiction blocks flow, not because abundance is forbidden, but because the heart is divided. Spiritual law requires alignment. You cannot receive what you secretly resent. Money is not a test of holiness. It is a test of consciousness. When wealth is placed into untrained hands, it becomes destructive, not because wealth is wrong, but because the vessel is unprepared. That is why some people gain money and lose peace, lose family, lose themselves. Not because abundance is cursed, but because character was not built before capacity. True spiritual maturity understands this. Money is a servant, not a master. Those who fear money are often controlled by it. Those who worship money are enslaved by it. But those who understand money use it. Money is meant to obey direction, not emotion. It follows clarity, discipline, and responsibility. It flows toward those who can manage it without losing themselves. The moment money becomes identity, it becomes destructive. The moment money becomes purpose, it becomes toxic. But when money becomes a tool, it becomes powerful. Spiritual wisdom does not reject the material world, it governs it. Detachment does not mean absence, it means freedom from control. One can possess wealth without being possessed by it. Money does not pollute spirituality. Unconsciousness does. The solution is not rejection of money, but elevation of the soul. When the inner world is ordered, the outer world aligns. When values are clear, money becomes obedient. Money is not the enemy of the spiritual life. Misunderstanding is. One of the most damaging lies ever normalized is the belief that struggle equals holiness. That lack proves righteousness. That suffering is somehow a spiritual requirement. This belief has caused people to wear hardship like a badge of honor, mistaking survival for sanctity. But hardship is not proof of faith. Endurance is not the same as purpose. And poverty is not a spiritual achievement. There is nothing noble about unnecessary lack. Humility is not deprivation. Faith is not dysfunction. Holiness is not helplessness. Scarcity does not purify the soul, it exhausts it. When people glorify poverty, they often confuse discipline with deprivation. They assume that because comfort can corrupt, discomfort must sanctify. But wisdom does not live at either extreme. Poverty does not create character. It only reveals character under pressure. A person can be poor and bitter. A person can be poor and generous. A person can be wealthy and corrupt. A person can be wealthy and compassionate. The condition does not determine the soul. True spirituality does not demand suffering. It demands alignment. There is no divine pleasure in watching potential shrink due to lack of resources. There is no moral victory in being unable to help others. There is no sacred calling to remain powerless. Provision is not indulgence. It is enablement. Without resources, the vision stays trapped in imagination. The compassion is limited by capacity. The impact is reduced to intention. Many good hearts remain ineffective not because they lack faith, but because they lack means. Poverty restricts movement, voice, reach, and influence. It forces survival mode where long-term thinking becomes impossible. Living in constant lack does not make one holy, it makes one tired. Spirituality was never meant to be about barely surviving. It was meant to be about living aligned, building responsibly, and serving effectively. There is a difference between simplicity and scarcity. Simplicity is chosen. Scarcity is imposed. Choosing less for clarity is wisdom. Being unable to choose is bondage. Those who believe poverty is virtuous often reject opportunities out of guilt, fearing that growth means corruption. But growth does not corrupt, unconsciousness does. When people believe they must remain small to remain pure, they sabotage expansion. They shrink dreams. They silence ambition. They confuse limitation with devotion. But devotion does not mean refusal of blessing. It means correct use of it. Provision is not a reward for holiness. It is a requirement for responsibility. The world is not healed by those who can barely survive it. It is healed by those who are stable enough to give, strong enough to build, and resourced enough to sustain impact. There is no honor in remaining powerless. The goal is not wealth for comfort. The goal is capacity for purpose. To reject poverty is not greed. To desire provision is not arrogance. To seek stability is not lack of faith. It is wisdom. You were not created merely to endure life. You were created to participate in it fully, with clarity, strength, and the ability to bless others without self-destruction. Poverty is not holiness. Struggle is not destiny. Lack is not loyalty. Alignment leads to provision. Wisdom leads to stability. Purpose attracts resources. And when understanding replaces fear, life no longer feels like survival, it becomes stewardship. Most people believe abundance is a prize, something granted after success, faith, or effort. But that belief reverses the order of reality. Wealth is not first a reward. Wealth is first a responsibility. Before money ever shows up in large amounts, life quietly asks a question: can this person be trusted? Not trusted to enjoy, but trusted to manage. Abundance is weight. It carries pressure, decisions, consequences, and influence. That is why not everyone receives it at the same level or time. It is not favoritism. It is filtration. Capacity always comes before comfort. Those who see wealth only as pleasure often collapse under it, but those who see wealth as stewardship grow into it. Money follows responsibility because responsibility creates structure, and structure can hold weight. Every level of provision demands a matching level of discipline. If a person cannot manage a little without anxiety, more will amplify chaos. If a person cannot give with little, more will not create generosity. If a person cannot act with integrity in small things, scale will magnify damage. Wealth does not test morality, it exposes preparedness. This is why abundance often arrives slowly, incrementally, sometimes frustratingly delayed. Life is not withholding, it is training. It stretches the inner world before expanding the outer one. The danger is not wealth. The danger is receiving it before identity is stable. When identity is fragile, money becomes validation. When identity is unclear, money becomes meaning. When identity is insecure, money becomes control, and anything that replaces inner grounding becomes destructive. True responsibility means understanding that money is not owned. It is assigned. It is given to pass through, to build, to sustain, to protect, to multiply beyond personal appetite. Those who chase wealth for status often lose peace. Those who receive wealth for service gain influence without losing themselves. Responsibility changes how abundance is handled. It creates patience instead of impulse. It creates planning instead of reaction. It creates legacy instead of consumption. Wealth in responsible hands builds systems, not ego. It strengthens families, not vanity. It thinks in decades, not weekends. The question is never, how much can I get? The question is, how much can I carry without breaking? Life responds honestly. There is a silent misunderstanding that has paralyzed many sincere people, the belief that faith means waiting. That belief sounds spiritual, but it quietly breeds passivity. Faith is not passive. Faith is active trust. Belief alone does not move resources. Alignment does. Movement does. Discipline does. Faith without action is hope without structure. Prayer aligns intention, but action gives it form. Vision opens the door, but effort walks through it. Trust does not cancel responsibility, it demands it. Provision responds to motion. Life does not meet wishful thinking. It meets engaged effort. There is a difference between surrender and stagnation. Surrender releases control, stagnation avoids responsibility. Many confuse the two and call inaction trust. But trust moves. When belief is real, it produces behavior. When faith is genuine, it reshapes habits. Inner conviction always shows up as outer discipline. Those who wait for certainty before acting never move. Those who move with clarity, even imperfectly, create momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. Provision often appears during movement, not before it. The path reveals itself as steps are taken, not while standing still. Clarity grows through action. Fear waits for guarantees. Faith acts with wisdom, not certainty. There is no contradiction between spirituality and effort. Effort is not a lack of faith, it is proof of it. Planting is work. Harvest is grace. Preparation is effort. Increase is flow. People often pray for open doors while refusing to turn the handle. They ask for direction while avoiding discipline. They want results without process, but process is sacred. Daily consistency builds capacity. Repetition refines skill. Small actions compound into transformation. Nothing meaningful appears instantly. Action does not mean struggle. It means engagement. True faith does not say, everything will be given. True faith says, I will do my part faithfully and trust the outcome. When belief and effort align, provision accelerates. Action also refines intention. It exposes what is real and what is fantasy. It clarifies commitment. It separates desire from dedication. Those who move learn. Those who wait imagine. Life rewards those who participate. The greatest spiritual breakthroughs often follow obedience to small, uncomfortable steps. Growth rarely feels dramatic in the moment. It feels repetitive, ordinary, and sometimes invisible. But consistency reshapes reality. Faith expressed only in words stays internal. Faith expressed in action becomes visible. Provision is not dropped from the sky. It flows through systems, relationships, skills, timing, and preparation. Action prepares the channels. Without action, opportunities pass unnoticed. Skills remain undeveloped. A vision stays theoretical. Action is the bridge between belief and manifestation. Those who act responsibly do not abandon faith. They embody it. And when action is guided by integrity, patience, and wisdom, provision becomes sustainable, not temporary. One of the most misunderstood principles of life is this: nothing that is meant to live is designed to stay still. Everything that remains stagnant eventually decays. Water that flows stays fresh. Water that stops becomes toxic. The same law applies to resources, opportunity, creativity, and money. Giving is not a moral performance. It is alignment with flow. Resources are designed to move. When they are allowed to circulate, they multiply. When they are trapped in fear, they harden. Hoarding is not protection. It is interruption of movement. Many believe giving makes them vulnerable. In reality, hoarding makes them fragile. Fear convinces people that what they have is all they will ever have. That belief shrinks perception. It narrows imagination. It closes the heart. And when the heart closes, flow slows. Giving is not loss. It is trust in continuity. There is a difference between wisdom and fear. Wisdom plans. Fear clutches. Wisdom releases with intention. Fear holds without vision. When giving is guided by clarity, it does not deplete, it activates. Resources follow circulation. When something moves with purpose, it attracts replenishment. When it stops, it creates resistance. This is not sentiment. This is structure. Systems reward movement. Giving is not about the amount. It is about posture. A person can give little and remain generous. A person can give much and remain fearful. True giving is not measured by size but by freedom. Hoarding is often disguised as responsibility. But responsibility builds systems. Hoarding builds walls. Walls protect nothing in the long run. They isolate. Those who hoard do not feel secure. They feel anxious. The more they hold, the more they fear loss. This is the paradox. The attempt to control resources leads to being controlled by them. Flow breaks fear. When giving becomes natural, trust replaces anxiety. The grip loosens. Perspective expands. And resources respond. This does not mean reckless distribution. Giving without wisdom creates chaos. But wisdom without generosity creates stagnation. True flow is intentional, consistent, and aligned with purpose. Giving keeps the heart open and the channel clear. It trains the mind to see abundance rather than scarcity. It reminds the soul that provision did not begin with personal effort and will not end with personal control. When people give from alignment, not obligation, something shifts internally. Identity moves from "I must protect myself" to "I am supported." That shift is powerful. Flow is not forced. It is allowed. Those who understand circulation do not panic in seasons of decrease. They adjust. They trust the system. They remain open. Those who hoard tighten in fear, and fear collapses creativity. Giving is a declaration there is more coming, because life moves. There is a form of fear that disguises itself as morality. It says, money is dangerous. It says, wealth corrupts. It says, if I have more, I might become less. This fear sounds wise, but it quietly creates bondage. Fear gives money power, and whatever is feared begins to dominate. People do not realize that avoiding money does not free them from its influence, it deepens it. What is resisted remains unconscious. What is misunderstood controls behavior. Fear-driven relationships with money produce sabotage. Some avoid growth opportunities because they fear responsibility. Some reject prosperity because they fear judgment. Some stay small because they fear change. Fear shapes decisions long before logic enters the room. Financial bondage is not primarily external. It is internal. It lives in belief, not in numbers. Those who fear money often oscillate between avoidance and obsession. They either reject it or chase it desperately. Both extremes give money authority. Freedom begins with understanding. Money is a tool. Tools are not feared, they are learned. A hammer does not control the builder. Ignorance does. When knowledge replaces fear, confidence replaces anxiety, fear-based thinking shrinks options. It closes perception. It keeps people reactive instead of strategic. When fear dominates, short-term relief replaces long-term vision. Fear asks, "What if I lose?" Understanding asks, "How do I manage?" Fear says, "I'm not ready." Understanding says, "I can learn." Those who fear money often remain dependent on others, on circumstances, on chance. Dependence feels safe but produces limitation. Autonomy feels risky but produces freedom. Financial confidence is not arrogance. It is competence. When fear is removed, decision-making improves. Patience increases. Impulses decrease. Money no longer feels like a threat. It feels like a responsibility. Fear also corrupts generosity. It makes giving painful instead of joyful. It turns opportunity into anxiety. It causes people to overprotect what was meant to circulate. Fear narrows identity. When fear controls, people define themselves by what they lack or what they might lose. When understanding controls, people define themselves by capacity and purpose. The goal is not to love money. The goal is not to hate money. The goal is to master relationship with it. Fear dissolves through education, clarity, and exposure. Confidence grows through practice. Those who face money with honesty and wisdom gain freedom from it. Those who avoid it remain entangled. Money loses power the moment fear leaves the system. Many people believe they want abundance, but what they truly have is desire, not vision. Desire is emotional. Vision is intentional. Desire says, "I want more." Vision says, "This is what I am building, and this is why it must exist." Life does not fund desire. Desire is unstable. It shifts with mood, comparison, and impulse. Desire chases comfort. Vision carries responsibility. Vision has structure. It has direction. It has endurance. Desire fades when it becomes inconvenient. Vision deepens. This is why so many people remain stuck at the level of wishing. They want relief, not responsibility. They want ease, not stewardship. They want the reward without the weight. But abundance moves toward clarity. Vision clarifies purpose. It answers questions before they are asked. It defines what resources are for before they arrive. It creates a container strong enough to hold growth. Without vision, resources scatter. With vision, they organize. Vision is not fantasy. It is not dreaming without discipline. Vision is purpose with a plan. It sees beyond personal appetite. It accounts for others. It considers impact. It thinks in systems, not impulses. Life responds to usefulness. Resources move toward where they can do the most good. When vision serves beyond the self, it becomes magnetic. It attracts alignment, partnership, opportunity, and support. Those who only desire money ask, "What can I get?" Those who hold vision ask, "What can I build?" Building requires patience. It tolerates delay. It endures sacrifice. Vision understands that growth happens in stages, not moments. Desire demands speed. Vision respects timing. Desire reacts to comparison. Vision is internally anchored. When desire drives decisions, money leaks. When vision governs decisions, money obeys. Vision also filters distractions. It gives the strength to say no. It protects focus. It prevents waste. It turns effort into progress. Clarity attracts provision because clarity reduces risk. Systems invest where direction is evident. Vision also creates resilience. When challenges come, vision holds the reason steady. Desire collapses under pressure. Vision adapts and continues. Those who operate in vision do not panic during slow seasons. They adjust strategy without abandoning purpose. They remain committed without becoming rigid. Vision grows through action, not imagination. It becomes clearer as steps are taken. It refines itself through feedback and experience. It matures. And as vision matures, capacity expands. Resources follow that expansion naturally. Survival mode is one of the most dangerous states a person can live in for too long. It narrows perception. It reduces imagination. It trains the mind to think short-term. It keeps the heart exhausted. Survival is necessary for a season. But when survival becomes identity, life shrinks. Many people are not living, they are coping. They are not planning, they are reacting. They are not building, they are enduring. But endurance was never the destination. It was the bridge. Human beings were designed to create, organize, and contribute. There is something deeply misaligned about a life spent only trying to make it through the day. Building requires margin. It requires stability. It requires energy beyond survival. This is why provision matters, not for indulgence, but for expansion. Survival asks, how do I get through today? Building asks, what am I creating for tomorrow? Survival consumes all energy. Building invests it. When people remain in survival, they cannot think generationally. They cannot plan. They cannot rest. They cannot innovate. Their nervous system remains under threat. Stability restores creativity. You cannot build legacy while constantly putting out fires. Building does not mean building empires. It means building something that outlives the moment. It means contributing in ways that continue after you are gone. Legacy is not about fame. It is about impact. Every person is meant to leave something better than they found it. Whether a family, a community, a system, or a standard. Building requires intention. It means shifting from, what do I need right now, to, what am I responsible for long term? This shift changes how money is viewed, how time is spent, how decisions are made. Builders think in layers. They understand foundations. They value durability over speed. Survivors rush. Builders prepare. Survivors avoid risk at all costs. Builders take calculated responsibility. Building also requires courage. It requires believing that your contribution matters, that your effort has meaning, that your life is not an accident but an assignment. Survival says, I'm just trying to get by. Building says, I am here to leave something. Many people underestimate themselves because they have lived too long in lack. They shrink expectations. They silence ambition. They stop imagining. But imagination is not childish. It is instructional. What you can see clearly, you can begin to create responsibly. Building is not about pressure. It is about alignment. When people align with purpose, energy returns. Fatigue lessens. Motivation stabilizes. Life feels meaningful again. Building does not always look dramatic. Often it looks repetitive, patient, quiet. Foundations are rarely celebrated, but they hold everything. Those who build understand that small, consistent actions matter. That progress compounds. That stability grows gradually. They are not in a hurry to escape life. They are committed to shaping it.